must admit, I came to test drive this new Ferrari GTC4 Lusso today with my Jeremy Corbyn hat rather firmly on, thinking, how in the modern age can someone justify spending probably slightly more than €500,000 once you account for options and personal taste on one single car? I wanted to not like it, actually. I wanted to kind of be grumpy and communist about it and go, "Pah! The workers of the world should unite and drive out these GTC4 Lusso owners. Damn them!" But I can't. I can't be like that. This thing is so good, so brilliant, so engaging, so delightful. I'm afraid I've thrown away my hammer and sickle and I've put on the bright red leather Ferrari jacket with the prancing horse logo. I must admit, I'm not the world's biggest fan of Ferraris. I generally consider myself more of a Porsche man if I take away my hat of objectivity. That's another hat that I wear on a regular basis. But this GTC4 Lusso, which is effectively a facelifted and updated version of the FF, has really seriously impressed me. Okay, a car with a 681 horsepower, 6.3 litre V12 engine is generally speaking always going to be impressive. But this particularly is proving to be quite the work of brilliance. As with the FF, it's four-wheel drive. It's not a conventional four-wheel drive system. There's actually a whole separate gearbox up in the front of the car that drives the front wheels, but that and the rear transaxle work in pretty much perfect harmony. There's less of an obvious transmission of grunt from one end of the car to the other than there was in the old FF. It's a much smoother, more predictable vehicle to drive. And while you think that four-wheel drive might be something of an anathema to a Ferrari, let me tell you something, it really works, it really helps. When you come around a fast corner and find that a tractor has left a pile of mud and muck in the middle of the road, it's an awful lot more relaxing to be in this than in any other car from Maranello. Performance is predictably stupendous. 3.4 seconds 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, which is, it's just bonkers quick, and it does it on a tidal wave of V12 noise, howl and shriek and gnash and thrash, and underlying it with this turbine-like whoosh. It's just an astonishing engine. Not cheap to run though. 18 miles per gallon if you're lucky, 10 if you're pressing on a bit. But then you might not be pressing on as much as you think, because the GTC4 is not like other Ferraris. It's not like the 488 or the old 458 where you got in it and thrashed it from here to heaven and back. No, this is a proper classical Grand Tourer. Now, one built almost for the specific purpose of Ferrari owners who like to go on skiing holidays and want the additional traction to be able to get up to the lodge when there's snow about. But nonetheless, it's the kind of car you hop into in London, Dublin, or Paris and drive until you hit the Mediterranean coast or even further afield. It is that private jet without wings that you want when you've got a long, endless journey to do. And while it's nice and dry here now, and we're throwing it around the back lanes near the old Dundrod TT circuit, this is a car that rewards turning everything down to comfort mode, cruising gently, using the torque and power of that engine to make the journey effortless rather than exciting. Now, within that, you'll find a few limitations. The steering, which is mostly very good, doesn't have that delicious feel and feedback that you get from the smaller mid-engine Ferraris or even the front-engine F12. It is very good, but maybe not quite as good as it could be. It's maybe a little bit more distant than you might expect. But then when you get inside, you kind of forget about that because you've got this utterly gorgeous interior. Beautiful, wonderful seats, really, really comfortable, even on a longer journey. This steering wheel, which with all the switches grouped here in the middle, you'd think would be a confusing mishmash, but actually it works really rather well, and the only time you feel it's annoying is when you're going around a roundabout and trying to find the indicator buttons. The displays here on the dash, well, they are a bit fiddly and a bit faffy, and you can never quite get things the way you absolutely want them. It's not too bad. I do like this new central display screen. That's a big improvement on the old one. I mean, talking about the infotainment system in a Ferrari seems a bit daft, doesn't it? But it is much improved. But the GT4C's biggest advantage over its brethren, and indeed over any rival that you might care to chuck at it, is simply the space in the back. There is a decent sized boot with an electric boot lid, no less, and there is actual space for real people in those back seats. I mean, I'm beyond 6 foot, and I'll happily climb back in there and stay in there for more or less as long as you want me to. Obviously, the badge and the price tag alone will keep people away from buying this car. It's not something that's going to sell in big numbers, even by Ferrari standards. But it is a curious and intriguing choice. It's a shooting brake estate, effectively, with a Ferrari V12 engine, four-wheel drive, the sort of performance that'll rip the hairs straight out of your scalp, and yet the kind of comfort and refinement that makes everyday use entirely feasible if you've got the requisite wedge in your back pocket. I didn't want to like it. I wanted to think it was just too extravagant, too much the poster boy for conspicuous consumption, and yet here I am, utterly in love with a Ferrari. Sorry, comrades, couldn't help it.